didn't like them either, because I was usually getting on an airplane the next day.
I bet so.
And I had to do all kinds of crap.
So Brad, tell us, how is work?
It's just how you remember it.
Oh, that's
It's
good.
it's not changed.
So did you guys, after you won the Krakow Cup, did you get the usual $10 million worth of endorsements?
No, they didn't. I didn't even, no. They tried to tell Neil I need a parking spot. He didn't.
It sounds like the next couple of weeks, we're all gonna maybe need a
All
parking
right.
spot.
Good morning.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Let's call to order this meeting of the Board of Public Works, Tuesday, July 17th, 2018, 7:30 a.m. Roll call, please.
John Beatmeyer,
Here.
Mike Ratatek,
Here.
Brad Mitchell,
Here.
Steve Richardson,
Here.
Steve Struberg, Jeff Mohesky, Steve Sullentrop, Jeff Patke.
Rise for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, all.
Morning.
Steve squeaked in right there as you were going through roll, man. I'll tell you, we got everybody here. Minutes, did you have a chance to take a look at the minutes? No questions or changes? I'll take a
Motion.
Motion.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes approved. On to our lengthy agenda. We have no priority items. We have no items listed on wastewater, but I have a question on the review that took place last month. The MDNR were in town doing a review on infiltration and stuff. Any notes on that, or?
No, I don't have anything specific. I know Kevin didn't brief me that there was any, sort of negative
No
items.
problems.
I will say that we had MDNR in town for two different items. One was the infill infiltration, which we're actively, trying to address around town with our slip lining, in more of the downtown area. But we also had our MS4 review, which it's more of a stormwater review, but it does have a sanitary component, because if you get stormwater in your sanitary sewer, which is an infill situation, there's a component to that as well. The city did receive on that MS4 audit is what it was, we did get a letter of warning, which is a ratchet. It doesn't really affect, it's more of a stormwater side of things, but it will require us to do some more public outreach type items, and maybe to speed up some of this infiltration type situation from a stormwater perspective. But that does have a positive impact potentially on our infill and our sanitary. If I can keep water, from infiltrating into the sanitary, or getting into the sanitary sewer, there should be some positive impacts there too. So I think the city will be in kind of a transition period for about a year to probably get this program up and running. We've had since 2003 to get something going, and it's been sporadic at best. So I've been kind of briefing administration that this is probably coming, and then all of a sudden we got an audit, and now it's coming pretty quick. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. You're kind of more secondary, as far as the sanitary sewers items go, it's a little more secondary. Stormwater is kind of a primary concern, but it does kind of intertwine. So I'll keep briefing you on what's going on with that. There'll be some meetings, some workshops, things like that. There'll be some code revisions. Specifically, I could think of some pretty stringent code revisions on grease interceptors, which would be a positive for the sanitary sewer system, because right now it's pretty vague in the code, and we don't have a very robust inspection. The city does not on grease interceptors, and I know that causes maintenance items for our guys. But quite frankly, I don't have a good list of where they're all at and where they're all required. It's put on the business owner themselves. So we may have to become much more involved in enforcement on an item like that, which that will come in front of you all. So it's intertwined. It's just, I think the sanitary item is kind of more secondary. So if you guys hear more and more about that, if you have any specific questions, just ask, and I can kind of let you know what we're doing. So.
Okay.
Any questions?
And then just some more things on wastewater. I don't know. I know last night at city council meeting, there was a concerned citizen in the Whispering Oaks subdivision had a sewer backup. From what I gathered, and I have not seen the report yet, so I have to work on that. I'm not sure why I didn't get a copy of it. But this is the third time this individual had a backup. The first two times, it was a manhole just downstream from the manhole that caused this current issue. That manhole was put on a frequent list. I don't know how to refer to these guys of how often we were checking that manhole, maintenance, whatever it would be necessary. But that manhole was on the list. The problem that happened this time was a manhole upstream from that. So from what I could tell and what I've been told, and like I said, I've not seen a report yet, that it was a root situation. The root grew into the, around maybe the connection or maybe the risers or whatever may be, and it caused a backup into the home of, pretty substantial sewage backup into the house. So we did turn it into our insurance. Insurance has, which I'm not surprised, initially denied the claim. So Darren and I are going to get together today and go through and just review that report. And like I said, I'm not sure why I didn't get it, but I'll make sure that doesn't happen again. But we're going to review the report, make sure that everything in there was accurate, and we may resubmit that back to insurance. And then I talked with Carrie and Chad here, and when Kevin gets back, to resolve that manhole by either patching it up or regrouting it or whatever's necessary to fix it so we don't have to worry about it again. So the city does not check every single manhole in town. We check a vast majority of them, but we don't get every one of them. This specific one, from what I gathered, was buried. The lid was buried, which is a problem from my side, engineering side, more specifically that we need to ensure that that doesn't happen. I will say the subdivision was built in the 80s, and we probably did not have a very robust inspection program at that time. So we're resolving these things moving forward, and we're reducing this risk, but I don't think anyone was necessarily negligent in what we did. It's just something that happened, and we need to resolve it and move forward. So just give you, if you hear about that, it was at the council meeting last night. The homeowner did show up, which is unfortunate that he had to make it that far. But I'll be working with that too to make sure that we get a resolution prior to getting that far, so.
This didn't have anything to do with the stormwater situation, did it?
No, it did not. It had from what I gathered out of the report, it was a blockage
It's
in
been
the
a
main.
long time. We had that problem at Quail Run with the backup because of just the
Yeah, I
elevation and
recall-
everything.
Yeah, I
and
recall a
we
little bit about that.
had some backflows put in and all that, but that kind of went away a long time ago.
Yeah, no, and now that question was brought up, would a backflow have prevented this? Well, quite honestly, you don't put a backflow unless it's a frequent occurrence and there's more of an infiltration type situation. This was, from what I've seen or what I've heard, not seen a report yet, from what I've heard, that it was quite honestly roots growing and collecting and blocking the sewer itself. So, a backflow would have prevented it, but
Wouldn't have fixed the cause.
it would not have fixed the issue, and the issue would have arose someplace else.
Right.
So, if you hear anything about that, or when you read that in the paper, that's what we're doing. We will work to, bolster up this procedure to make sure that it never gets to that point again. But that's just an update on what's going on.
Okay.
I would, we've had issues in the past where we've had bricks fall out of manholes and block the sewer main. I know there was one right here, I think at Lafayette and Fourth, where a brick would just fall out of, they're old. A brick would fall out of the side of the manhole and block the main, and you'd have a backup. Well, I don't know if it came from the house or if we noticed it prior to. And to me, that's a catastrophic thing. Like you would not know that was going to happen. Root situation, that doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
So it's just trying, ideally what we would do is be able to get to every manhole every year, every 2 years, or whatever it may be, ideally. It's just we don't have the staff to do so right now, and it is kind of, we're chasing this a little bit. So we're going to see what we can do to improve this to make sure this doesn't happen again, but just to give you an update, that's the specific item.
How many manholes do we have?
I don't know if I know that number off the top of my head. I could get that number, but I don't.
Bunch.
It's upwards of. I think Scott's going through a number of them. Yeah. Yeah, I know engineering, I have a procedure in place where we're going through and getting them counted up, getting them on a map. But once again, it's taken so much time because I can't dedicate
Yeah.
people to it constantly.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you're upwards. I would think you'd be pushing 12,000. I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
Jeez.
so,
We got 10 in our subdivision.
yeah, exactly. So, just give you an update on what's going on with that.
Good.
So, I don't know about good, but at least hopefully we reduce this risk.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you, John.
mhm.
Any other questions on wastewater? Moving on to water. It's still,
Water, to give you an update on a couple things we're working on. I know in the paper, and we've been briefing the dog park situation. Maybe you guys have seen that a little bit with the spigot for the dog park. I think that was a little bit of a hot topic item. As far as our department goes, as far as water department goes, I mean, we were just inundated with projects, and I don't want to, say a priority too much, but we do have a responsibility to make sure that we can get water to the citizens and the people of the community. And the dog park situation just kind of fluctuated a little bit. So we got to it when we got to it. It is up and running now. And I have not heard anything negative per se with it. So hopefully that will go away now that there is water for the pups. So we're also on Oak Street. That water line is in. I know you guys still got to make the connection, I think, at 4th, and the line is charged. I think their testing came back all positive. That road will remain rough for a couple months here. I do have a project that's probably 90% design and specifications done to overlay and replace both sidewalks on both sides and overlay the entire street. I'm pushing really hard to get that out September, October, so real late this year. But with everything Bluff Road and stuff going on, it's kind of, we're trying. But I would say that we're trying to get that done by the end of this year yet to get it resurfaced and up and running. I would just say that project, again, is just, it's a positive in a direction that we're changing with just the communication between the water sewer department and really engineering, that we're looking at these water lines and these sewer lines and we're inspecting them prior to overlaying streets so we can reduce the risk of water main breaks in the future. I know in the past that was a big kind of little hot topic item that we would go in and pave a street, and then all of a sudden we'd have 3 or 4 water main breaks on the same street and we're tearing back up again. I think Stafford is a pretty good example of that. I can't tell you we'll get them every time, but if we can reduce this risk, and that's part of what this project was. So hats off to Kevin and the guys for keeping that high priority and getting on that.
good.
So, and the last thing too, the riverfront, I know we're going to be working on putting meters on the spigots down on the riverfront. Right now, there are I think there's 6 of them, 6 service lines that go to spigots down by the trail area. And I don't know when they were put in, but they're tied directly to the main. Anybody could go down there and turn a spigot on. There is no meter on those at all. So we're going to work on metering that water. That's no change in how anything operates down there. Right now, water is just, if the boat, the docks need water, they get water. So we're not changing anything. It's just I want to know how much water we're losing in the system. And so we're going to be working on getting meters put in down there. So I've let everybody, the boat dock owners, know that's what's going on. So if you ever get any questions, and then we probably will reevaluate, do we continue to operate like that, or do we, I think one idea is that a lot of the water fountains and things in parks per se don't have meters on them. It's kind of just, it's free water. Do we continue to operate down there? Is it really free water to the public, or is it designated to dock owners? I know I've seen hoses hooked up to it going down to docks. To me, that's something that cannot happen because, a free water situation now, and nobody gets free water in town. So I'm not saying we're changing anything now. I'm just saying we got to try to identify how much is being lost.
Yeah, good plan.
So.
Good plan. Even for all the parks. I mean, it's like you say, if the city's picking up the tab, that's fine.
Yeah.
At least you know what it is you're using and all.
That's right. And it doesn't.
A lot of water.
It costs a meter, it costs the guys some time, but we just got to get a handle on where the stuff's going. Stuff being water. Where's it going? So.
Speaking of water, not that it's an immediate need, but it will be an immediate need as the years go by. The water study and the water tower and the rate situation. And I know we talked earlier this year that we would, get that book out again in the fall and start looking at it.
Yes, still the plan.
Even with everything that you just mentioned that's on your plate, I guess that's still the plan. So that we-
That is definitely the plan. I would say, Darren and I have talked about this. Darren, Kevin, and I have been kind of chit-chatting about when this was going to occur. My guess is the conversation would start sometime in October or November. I mean, it'd be a wintertime discussion. I know that we are going to start going through this capital improvement sales tax kind of priority list of what is the most important thing, because the money's rolling in, or will be rolling in, hopefully, and then we got to prioritize those projects. And, everybody's trying to, get their piece of the pie, per se. So I don't know where we stand on that yet. We haven't had that discussion, but I'll brief you once we do.
Yeah.
I think if I recall, the water study was a 2021 was kind of, if the projected growth was what it was a 2021 need.
Right.
So we're getting there. I mean, it's 2.5 years out, to get something going. So I think it's worth that we start discussing the water tower for sure. I know that we've been looking at elevations out of that section of town of is there a better alternative for a location? And I'm not saying there is, but the city does own the property right there, at the South Point as it kind of makes the bend, that we do own, I think 30 acres right there, which has always been the ideal spot. I also know there's some spots south of there that are higher elevation where that tank could get a little bit smaller, which could save some money. So we're just trying to look at, is that really the right spot? And I would say we're right in the middle of that right now.
Well, last month we were able to talk about the 353 organization and the sale of property and that money coming back over to
Yes.
to our fund. And that's what even prompts me to ask the question, we're talking about this future capital improvement. We got a little seed money, not enough to pay for
The tank, yeah.
a tank, but enough to say that, yes, we've got a fund started for a tower.
Yeah, and that's the good thing is really when you look at the capital improvement dollars, I mean, we do have matching funds for it. So it's, and that was one of the reasons why we didn't really quite get what we requested out of that capital improvement, is because, we do have a funding mechanism. And it's looking is that funding mechanism meeting the needs, so we're not pulling from something else. It's kind of more of a holistic review of everything. And that's where the water rates and everything, all that discussion's gonna come in. It's hard to get a handle on something if you're always getting grant money, or not grant money, but money from some other source. Is this fund operating the way it should be? And that's the discussion we're gonna have. For
Yes.
good or bad. I don't know the outcome of that. When I say good or bad, increase in rates or status quo or whatever. But we do need to take a hard look at it.
Right.
And I would say that is, once again, that's a fall, mid, late fall discussion for sure.
Good.
So,
Thank you. Thanks, John. Let's see, old business, talking about water towers. I guess we're close to finishing up Crestview.
yes, I just asked the guys this morning, the sidewalk was put in, the sidewalk, all the concrete work has been done. I do not believe they've seeded and strawed it yet. My guess is we're holding off on that because growing grass in July is not always an ideal situation. So that's the only thing left. I mean, we haven't had we had a little situation with some overfills. I don't know if you guys have maybe seen water on 47, where the overfill, where the SCADA system was actually overfilling the tank. We got those kinks worked out. I don't think there's been a situation in the past month. So we just had to work through it more than anything. So I would say that, we could leave it on the agenda till we get it all seeded and strawed. I mean, I don't think that's an issue, but until that gets done, it won't be final completed. But like I said, growing grass in July and August isn't ideal. So
Yeah.
I think we just need to be patient on that.
Okay. Any other business to bring up, discussion? You got nothing else, John?
No, I would just say, I know I need to work with Kevin. I know we talked about a manhole being installed down on Front Street in front of the pipe factory. I know that was a discussion item, maybe everybody's looking at me a little blankly, about 4 months ago. that we have a parallel main
Yes.
down there that has some sediment in it. And we were trying to coordinate that with the closure of the neighboring business, where what's it called, Street Side Taco, I believe now.
Yep.
Had to do a sewer connection, so they closed the street down. We were trying to coordinate with that to get our manhole punched in the street at the same time, just to try to limit. It didn't get done. But that's a priority for us to get that done, because what I feel like we have an issue with a backup on the Voss Richardson building that's been going on for, I have no idea. I'm gonna assume decades, to be honest. But I feel like if we can get that manhole punched in and get that down to that location, then we can get up that main that we can't get to now and clean it. And I think we're gonna find another connection into that building. That building does have a backflow on it, but I'm guessing that there's 2 different sewer connections that we just haven't found another one.
Uh-huh.
That's my next step into looking into it, and I have been briefing the owners of the building that that's what we're doing. But it is kind of a seek and find, maybe would be a way to say it, because that building's so old, and I have no idea where things are at. So I think that's the next step, but once again, it's just finding time. So we're trying to get to it.
Good.
So that's all I have.
Thank you. I think I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next meeting, next month. What's the date? July?
August.
No, that's
August.
today, August.
14.
All right. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
You.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, enjoy your tea time. Oh, that would be Mike. I can sign mine.
And I
won't need
gave
to
you
go.
the agenda, Mike, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
You know, we had to have this at least 15 minutes or we don't get paid. you know. Increments under 15 minutes or
They don't count.
they don't hit the payroll.